There are still thousands of young people leaving the education system without any qualifications at all. There is an overwhelming evidence the education system leaves too many poorer students behind. The disadvantage gap is not closing.
The frustration that I continually face is that we don't have effective translation between research and practice, between the scientists and the teachers, between the thinkers and the doers.
After all, while little has been done to change it, many of us had recognised for a long time that the industrial model of education is wholly inappropriate. It's a model based on ram it in, children's heads are hollow, ram it in, still there's more to follow. It makes no provision to cater for the different ways in which students learn.
We have world-class researchers in the learning sciences, a world-class evaluation organisation in the Education Endowment Foundation, and world-class teachers. Yet the translation of the science of learning into the classroom is piecemeal and sporadic. So we do have successes, but we don't have systematic success.
Now, while at university in the late 60s, I became involved in the use of embryonic computers to aid learning, individualising the process to meet the needs of the learner rather than those of the teacher. But the work was hampered by a limited understanding of the learning process, how people learn. The worlds of teachers and researchers remain steadfastly distinct. It makes no sense that research that could make the matter of learning easier for pupils is not even known about by teachers, and it equally makes little sense that researchers don't involve teachers in determining which aspects of classroom practice should be studied.
Now, it's ridiculous to expect schools to address all of the issues caused by social and economic deprivation on their own. But a better understanding of how children's brains actually work might stop us perpetually trying very hard to do the same thing and expecting a different outcome.
How do we get the evidence base from science into the classroom? This is more important now than ever before, with evidence that attainment gaps between the poorer pupils and their better off classmates have not closed over the last 20 years. Evidence of steep rises in the number of children needing catch-up support following the pandemic. In a sense, we look from a scientific perspective, we look enviously at business where translation mechanisms already exist in the form of innovation hubs. We very much need similar structures to support innovation in education.
Learning Skills Research Foundation commissioned a YouGov report. Given that teachers are clearly most concerned about their workload and the other pressures of the classroom, we were encouraged to find that almost a third of those surveyed had heard of educational neuroscience, and amongst them, almost half were encouraged to implement its insights in their classrooms by their schools.
Now, there are several signs that the time is right for this kind of initiative. Globally, this year, UNESCO launched a new report on the future of education, which stressed the importance of a scientific and evidence-based approach, what they called a whole-brain, learner-centric approach towards learning, and the importance of a multidisciplinary dialogue. If you take neuroscience, it's not about neurons and it's not about brain scans. It's about understanding what the brain's priorities are and how low down classroom learning is on those priorities. It's about trying to show how teachers can help align the brain's more pressing priorities, things like moving and perceiving, the emotions, social skills, how these can be aligned in the service of supporting learning. I would argue that the time is right for an innovation hub in educational neuroscience. But unfortunately, the UK simply doesn't have the funding structures to support this crucial infrastructure.
How do we go further and faster in turning teaching into more of a science? How do we create the engine room for change that will really help all children achieve their potential as learners and really equip them with the skills, knowledge, and understanding they need to have successful lives in our most challenging of times? It's important to emphasise also that this is an internationally important issue relevant to all education systems, not just ours. So the potential for this work goes way beyond our shores.
And that is what the Building Impact Groups initiative is about. We have a good understanding of the key areas where we want to drive innovation, areas such as numeracy and science, concept learning and creativity, socio-emotional skills, and adolescent decision-making. Priorities such as helping children from disadvantaged backgrounds and closing gaps produced by the pandemic. Learnus has been piloting mechanisms and decision-making structures to bring educators and researchers together in dynamic dialogues. But now we need the funding to make this happen, as it were, to put a rocket under innovation in education.
My challenge, along with my colleagues and with our partners at the Centre of Educational Neuroscience, is to turn what you've heard tonight into a reality. The BiG project truly is a big project. Big in terms of the opportunities it provides for the academic world to engage directly with teachers on a large and significant scale, and, as Michael Thomas has already said, to put a rocket under innovation in education.
The Building Impact Groups initiative, we plan for it to last 3 years. It will bring together over 100 researchers and educators in a managed process of innovation. It will produce a roadmap of new research and development priorities, a set of ideas for techniques to be evaluated in the classroom, providing a proving ground for new approaches to feed into the Education Endowment Foundation's program of randomized controlled trials. And it'll establish a network for interaction and innovation between researchers and educators that so far exists nowhere in the world.
I know that the BiG project is really exciting and something I wish had been developed years ago. With many years involved in education as a teacher, teacher trainer, education researcher, curriculum developer, chairman of an education committee and parliamentary spokesman in education, I know how important the BiG project could be.
The recent YouGov poll, which we commissioned, has revealed that a significant number of teachers already recognise the vital role that neuroscientific research has to play in support of their everyday classroom teaching. Our challenge is to meet that demand and to reach out to the wider community of teachers who don't yet get it. Finally, by supporting the BiG project, you will be part of a pioneering movement to bring 21st century science into teaching a better understanding of how the brain works and how it learns.
At last, the BiG project offers genuine and long-needed collaboration. I wish it success and I encourage you to get involved if you possibly can.